Okay, where to begin? This is not about my system is better than your system. Why do I use Fujifilm? Why have I made the decision to, spend so much money on this YouTube channel and my photography journey? Why have I gone all in with Fujifilm? And the answer, fortunately, is very organic. It is not because of some YouTube fad or TikTok fad. It actually all happened very organically. And actually, when I think about it, it's pretty crazy. I guess it could be very easily summed up with this image. This image really just represents what it is I love about Fuji's colors. This was taken with my very first digital camera, my very first camera at all, the very first camera that I owned. And it was with the camera that I got in 2001 as a gift. It was a Fujifilm FinePix 2600 zoom. That camera was fun. Like I said, it was my first digital camera. It was my first camera that I owned. So that's sort of like the easy answer. It's more complex than that. As time passed and a few years had gone by and I really was enjoying that camera, I was starting to notice that the 2 megapixels of the Fuji FinePix wasn't really cutting it anymore, and I wanted to get a better, higher megapixel camera. I had no brand awareness at the time. The next camera I got was a Canon S500 or something like that. It was a 5 megapixel camera. Terrible camera. Beautiful to look at, just a terrible camera. I didn't have that very long. And then I had this Sony CyberShot photo and video camera. It was great. I actually really enjoyed that. But with the very first Fujifilm and with the Sony and even with the Canon, I saw myself really trying to spread my wings a little and try to use it as a photography device and not just a point and shoot day-to-day capture device. Right around the time, I would say it was around 2007, 2008, I was working with somebody who really was into photography. And they had this really great Nikon system, and I decided to try something new, and I went into an interchangeable lens system with the DSLR. I got a Nikon D40X, and that was a great camera. I definitely took some great images. The problem was I wasn't ready for that camera. I wasn't ready to have the lenses, and I wasn't ready to take a camera of that size with the lenses that I had. The problem was the whole package was really big. I noticed that I felt self-conscious taking it out. I didn't want to look like a tourist kind of thing. And the other problem was it was heavy, and I just never wanted to carry it around with me. It just started collecting dust in my office. I think it was definitely 2011, and coincidentally enough, it was late in 2011. So like November or December 2011, I decided to trade it all in. I think I was looking for the PowerShot G9. I think that was what I had in my head is like the point and shoot I wanted. It was like a point and shoot with more pro features. I thought I was going to go that direction, but when I got to the camera store and I was talking to the people that work there, they pointed me toward these brand new Fuji cameras that just came out. And it was the Fuji X10 and the Fuji X100. And I gotta be honest, when I saw those cameras, when I just looked at the body of the camera, I didn't care about any of the specs. I just looked at the camera. I knew I definitely wanted this camera. Problem was I didn't know between the X10 and the X100 which one I really cared about. And at that moment in time, I really didn't understand the size of the sensor or any of that. I chose the X10 because it was half the price of the X100. Once I got that camera, I immediately fell in love with it. I mean, I just loved the photos that I got from it, the color and the dynamic range and all the things that you would really care about with a camera like that. I had so much fun with that camera, and that's the truth. It was a great camera. The only problem that started to rise and started to like show its ugly head was to get from cold to on and using it. You took the lens cap off, turned it, and it was kind of an awkward thing. And then it was also a little slow. Autofocus was really slow. The power was really slow. So I did end up selling that camera and getting a Sony a6000. It came with 2 kit lenses, a 16-55 and a 55-200, and they were fine. They didn't blow my doors off by any means, but I did get some great photos with that camera, and I did enjoy it when I used it. But that was the problem. Right around here, mobile phone technology, whether it was in an Android phone I was using or an iPhone that I was using at the time, these cameras were getting better and better really fast. So I started to really believe that computational photography was going to take over, and I just didn't think carrying around a body and lenses was practical anymore. It just lost out to the phone. The camera just fell away from me. So it was after the pandemic. It was right around, everyone had been vaccinated. You know, we were coming out of that first summer after the pandemic. And I remember thinking that I would really like to get back into photography. I got myself a manual lens. I put it on my A6000, trying to use it. I'm really frustrated because I am just not able to get sharp photos with this manual lens. It was a Mikey lens, 35 millimeters, had great reviews. So it was definitely my fault. It was operator error. I just didn't know what I was doing. And the Sony body, the Sony menu system and everything didn't really help me learn. If you wanted to do it manual, you had to know what you were looking for to do it manually. And so I was sitting there with my Sony, and again, I find the timing of this so the universe kind of spinning, you know, what you seek is seeking you. I'm sitting there with this camera, and I'm looking at this camera with this Mikey lens. It's a black camera, and I had the black lens, and I'm looking at this camera, and I remember this photo I took of myself in Chicago 10 years earlier, and I realized when I'm looking at this camera that I was chasing that camera. I still loved that camera, and I was trying to recreate it with this A6000. So it was in that moment that I decided, that's it. I just can't pretend like I don't care about how the camera looks. So I decided that X100 that I didn't get 10 years earlier, I was going to get that camera now. So I searched what is the latest version of the X100. I find out it's the X100V, and I go to start researching it, and I find out that it's really hard to find. And so I call the closest camera store to me in the Denver area. I get somebody on the phone, and I just say, you know, I'm looking for the X100V, and I'm wondering if you have any in stock. The guy goes, let me go check him back. And he comes back and he goes, yeah, we do. So I couldn't believe it. I packed up all my Sony gear. I took it to that camera store. I sold all my Sony stuff, and I bought the X100V. So from 2001, my very first camera, 2011, X10, 2021, X100V, almost 10 years apart perfectly. And I would say that once I got the X100V and once I started taking test shots, it all clicked in my head that I like Fujifilm's colors. I love that I can take photos 10 years apart and feel like I'm at home when I see the photo that I took. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And I had so many cameras. I didn't tell you half the cameras I had in the middle. There was just so many that they weren't even worth mentioning. I only mentioned the highlights. I really believe if I ever do upgrade my cameras, if I ever do something wild, like go into a different camera system, I'll always have a Fuji with me. Like whatever version I may get, like if I decide that a Hasselblad X4D or whatever, you know, whatever day in the future this is, I decide that that's the camera for me, I'll always have a Fujifilm camera with me. Even if it's the X100V Mark V, I think always having a Fujifilm with me is just, it's got to be part of my kit at this point for the rest of my life, I think. I mean, obviously I'm not that brand loyal. If Fujifilm starts messing up and making bad stuff, then it's over. That's it. I mean, their cameras are wonderful. I love their camera style. You know, the retro look is perfect, but you know, Leica looks like really retro and fun too. So it's not like Fuji cornered the market on retro style. There's a new Nikon out right now that I think looks great. But if I bought that Nikon, I believe that I would be disappointed because technically it's a better camera. It's a full frame camera. It's got more features than this X Pro 3, but the color would be different. So that's the reason I choose Fujifilm. I definitely don't mind that it's a smaller camera system. My X-H2 I have one of the newer 23 millimeter lens that's actually recording me right now. It's bigger than this, but it's still small. Like, I think of the D40X that I had with that lens. This is still smaller than that. So I like that it is a smaller system. It ultimately comes down to the color. Fujifilm feels like home to me. So that's it. That's why I use Fujifilm. I really do want to say very clearly, this is not about my system is better than your system. This is not about Fuji is superior than something else. It is not. I don't subscribe to those ideas. If you use Sony and you've been using Sony for years, you have your reasons. Like, it's fine. So this is not an attack. I'm just saying why I like it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I really do thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.